Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Speakeasy. My name is Srathne, and every single episode I bring on a guest from the from the Central Time Zone, and I interview them. I was supposed to go on tour, but the COVID hit, and I couldn't go on tour and interview these awesome comics. So every single episode, this is a brand new one for you. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Meg Indurti. How are you, Meg? How are you?
Thanks for having me on. I'm good.
Awesome. Thank you for being a part of it. It means a lot to me, and thank you for being my guest. So, Meg, you are a stand-up comedian and a human writer. And what are those two fields like for you?
Good. Stand-up is kind of dead right now. It's kind of moved to Zoom. But yeah, I was doing stand-up comedy at just like clubs, independent shows all around Chicago and, in other cities as well, New York, San Francisco, around in the Midwest. And I love stand-up and I miss it every day. But now because of the pandemic, I've always kind of did a little bit of humor writing, but I feel like I've become a lot more focused on that, on sort of that satirical field, and just trying to be more focused on that for now because it's easier to do that from home for sure.
Absolutely, indeed. Yeah, the whole pandemic just threw everything off, and you mentioned other cities besides Chicago, and including Chicago. What are some of your favorite venues that you got to perform in before the pandemic hit?
Major ones, Laugh Factory, Zanies, Comedy Bar. There was also more independent showcases that I loved, like The Shithole, which is like a very underground Chicago show on Sundays. And it's a very cool space, very inviting space. And then, yeah, like we also produced our own shows at like a distillery. And yeah, I mean, there was just like every type of show, the corporate shows, the like the hippie Wicker Park shows, yeah, just everything. I miss all of it, but yeah, I would definitely say I miss like Laugh Factory like quite a bit.
Indeed, most definitely. And you were also a semifinalist on the Stand Up NBC in 2017. And what was that whole experience like?
Kind of crazy, actually. Yeah, it was in 2017. Yeah. Yeah, so Stand Up NBC does these like auditions, and it's like pretty much all the local comics who are like in the scene regularly booked are invited, especially like women, people of color, people in the LGBTQ community, and all of us audition, and they pick like 7 to 9 people per each city. They do like auditions in 3 cities. So, people in the surrounding area kind of drive there. I think they had one in like New York, Atlanta, Chicago. So like everyone kind of goes to their nearest spot. And a bunch of people audition. There's like a few rounds, and then they pick like 9 people to audition in each city. So I was one of those people in 2017. And then from there they pick like finalists and stuff. I didn't make it to that round, but I was pretty excited to rep Chicago for that year.
Indeed, that's pretty neat. And so you were also in the NBC Breakout Comedy Festival. What was that like?
Fun. So that one's like a festival, and like I think it's like maybe like 20, 25 people every year. And those crowds are great. It's at Second City. It's like absolutely packed. Friday nights and Saturday nights, especially. I think I did 2 shows Saturday night, and it was just like, oh man, I was like, I remember I was super jet lagged and stuff because I'd just gotten back from like a work trip from LA, and it was like so in like it was just like a thrilling experience to like be able to perform on stage to such an incredible lively crowd, and then also do it on like a lineup of like your favorite comics. So it's like the best experience.
Indeed, most definitely. And you're also a writer for the New Yorker and the Reductress. What are those two writing for those two publications like?
To both, pretty new to both of them actually. I was writing a bunch of articles, satirical stuff, like for like smaller places on Medium. Earlier in 2020, just like because I miss doing stand up and I needed some like outlet to do comedy in, and I didn't really have like a platform, so I just sort of like started writing those. And sharing them on Twitter and Instagram. And then, like a few people who already contribute to Reductress and like the hard times reached out to me and were like, hey, you should apply. They're looking for writers. So I did, and I got in. So from there, I've sort of been contributing consistently. And then, some of those articles did really well. So I had an editor from the humor section in the New Yorker reach out to me and asked me to pitch a piece, and I did, and that got published, and it got like really good feedback. And then so from there, I became a contributor to the New Yorker, and I've been working with like a cartoonist that in Chicago that I'm a huge fan of, and we're good friends. So it's cool to have like an illustration partner as well in case we want to do more articles that are not just writing. So yeah, that's been like it's very recent. Like Reductress, I started writing in like September, August, and then New Yorker in like November. So I'm pretty new, but I'm really excited because I think there's like a long way to go for both of those.
Indeed, most definitely. And you're also a co-founder and producer with Team S Comedy. And what has that whole experience like?
I'm a producer for Team S Comedy with two other Chicago comics, Tyler Fowler and Vic Pandya. We all started comedy sort of together. Like we met in an improv class, and then we did like open mics together and kind of all that. And I think when you first start out, like it's really important to practice, but it's also important to like network with other comics and kind of build relationships in the community. So producing like a show was sort of our way to do both of those. You could do as much time as you want in your own show. It's kind of lower risk a little bit, plus you learn a lot about comedy, about how to curate a lineup, how to promote stuff, how to build an audience, how to network, and you just meet a lot of other comics, and you offer them spots on your show. It's like a good way to sort of build relationships and stuff. So that's sort of how we started, and then it's really expanded from there to us being able to like do more corporate shows and corporate partnerships, as well as be able to like work with very different spaces to bring comedy. Like we kind of try to do it in non-theater places, like a workspace or like a rooftop, or like we have like a consistent show that we do at Siege Distillery in Chicago. So it's like in the back of a distillery. It's like places you wouldn't necessarily expect to see comedy, which is part of what makes it kind of cool. It gives comics like a chance to perform in like kind of like a different environment. And at the same time, it gives audiences kind of like a cool experience as well. And we've been doing that since like 2016? Yeah, I think that's when we started, and then just kind of kept it going.
That's good stuff, most definitely. And Meg, I was hoping to go on tour and ask you these questions in person, because I've asked all the comics I've ever interviewed these following questions. And so, with that being said, Meg, what inspired you to perform stand-up comedy?
What inspired me? I've always just been a huge fan of comedy, like especially like TV shows. Like I was a huge fan of 30 Rock, Community, Arrested Development. Those are like three of my like favorite shows. I just loved the writing, and I, like a lot of my friends were fans of that show, but I remember like I would really like study the dialogue and like be like, oh, that was really cool. That I didn't know all the like terminology then, but I just like really, but I didn't know that was like a job someone could like do, like write jokes. And so when I sort of like learned about that field, I was like, oh, I want to do that. I want to like write jokes and write for TV. And so I thought I wanted to be like a sketch writer. It's why I like moved to Chicago. And then I started doing like open mics. I don't know what compelled me to do it, because I was never like a person that wanted to be on stage. I'm still really not. But I think I just liked it as like a vehicle to tell jokes. And, it's just so much more conversational than like writing. And I didn't necessarily love the format of sketch at that time. So I started doing more stand-up, and that that one helped me meet a lot of people, because I was new to like Chicago and the Midwest. And it was also like a really cool way to like learn about comedy and see other people like fail and get better, and for me to fail and get better. So that's, yeah, it sort of started, and then I just never like stopped. I feel like I've like tried a lot of things in life and kind of got bored of them, and comedy is one of those that like in one way or another, I've always liked, even before I did comedy. Like I was just like a huge fan of sitcoms and the cheesy ones, the good ones. I just loved them all, and I still like watch sitcoms when I'm like not having a good day. So yeah, I think comedy's just sort of always been like my favorite thing, whether I do it or not. So that's what inspired me to start, I guess.
Indeed. And what was the feeling like when you first performed stand up?
It was like two things, right? I think you have to be kind of delusional to start, to like think you're someone that should be on a stage and speak to a whole crowd. And you have to kind of be delusional in the sense that like you think you're good, even though you're not. Like no one's like incredible when they start. There's like a promise for sure, but you're not like killing it when you first start. So it was like half that, but also just like it was a little scary because like like being a woman of color, being a woman in general, and like feeling kind of, and I'm also kind of like socially awkward, so I wasn't like popular immediately. But yeah, I was like nervous and but like delusional enough to keep going, and there was like just enough success that I never quit. If that makes sense. Like it was always like one joke that worked at an open mic that I'm like, okay, well that was good. I need to like write more like that. And then so it was always kind of like a challenge that I kept going. I'm like, okay, how many like laughs per minute can I get? Like I was very like mathematical about it. I was like, okay, well if I would like listen back to sets and be like, okay, well I only got 10 laughs in 4 minutes. How can I change that to like, I don't know, like 20 or 30. So I did it kind of that way. And from open mics, I kind of shifted into like being booked on more independent shows. And then from there, being booked at clubs. So it started off kind of like with delusion and hard work. But then, like now I can look back on that material and be like, oh, that was not good. But like, I think that's just like growth, Yeah.
Indeed. And what are your favorite comedy specials and comedy record albums?
Yeah. Let's see. I feel like I always forget every single comedian when that question's asked. I love like a lot, like I guess like they're less mainstream but still popular in comedy circles. Like I love Nate Bargatze. I think he's like really funny. I think Sam Morril, Taylor Tomlinson, Hassan Minaj is really funny. Who else? Janelle James is, I think she's like one of my favorite comedians, and she's like, she should be more popular than she thinks, than she is, I think. But she has like a Netflix special and stuff. Jabuki Young White is hilarious. And then there's so much more, just like a lot of people in Chicago and LA and New York that I've like met or done shows with that I'm just a huge fan of. Like, yeah, I mean, I could name like a million. I don't know if I have favorite comedy albums. I feel like I don't really listen to albums. I listen to like comedy, like live mostly, or like, yeah, I don't like enjoy albums and Netflix specials as much. Yeah.
Indeed. Indeed. And let's see here. You mentioned your favorite shows earlier. In the first question. What are your favorite sitcom sketch shows and comedy films, just in case people are jumping in at them at this moment?
Yeah. Like, let's see, when I was like younger, I would say Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It was one of my favorite TV shows. I also liked Friends. I know it was like super white, but like at that time, it was sort of like me integrating into American culture, and that was I don't I think it's really funny. Seinfeld's pretty good. And then yeah, I feel like as like I was in like high school and college, I liked Scrubs, I liked The Office, Parks and Rec. Let's see, Community, 30 Rock, and Arrested Development were like my favorite shows. Uh, yeah, those are the ones that like really stand out to me. And then Parks and Rec most recently, I think is pretty good. Yeah, I think I need to watch more comedy though. I don't really like. I need to watch more TV in general. I don't really watch that much TV anymore.
Indeed, sketch shows.
I'm less of a fan of sketch. I love the Eric Andre show. I'm a huge fan of that show. I'm trying to think of more. Uh, I think You Should Leave is like a special on Netflix with Tim Robinson. I think that's that's like to me like the funniest sketch I've ever seen. Mad TV was great growing up. That was yeah, yeah, that was favorite.
Indian comedy films.
Like comedy films, I think. I don't know. I just feel like comedy's not good in film form as much, but I like watching it just, mindlessly. I like Seth Rogen films. I like, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like there's a lot of like great comedy films that I can think of.
For
Yeah.
sure, indeed. And if you can go on tour with any comedian, locally and internationally known, which comedians would you like to go on tour with?
Actually known, or like, are those like two different, like,
Two different ones. Yeah.
oh, okay, locally known. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, in the Chicago comedy scene, I'd say like Joey Villagomez is really funny. Kristen Toomey, Erica Nicole Clark. Yeah, just like any of them. Maybe a little bit above them would be someone like Janelle James and Jabuki Young White, like kind of mentioned earlier. Taylor Tomlinson, Beth Stelling, kind of that level. Maybe above them, I'd love to, go on tour with someone like Samaril. And then yeah, internationally, like Veer Das is pretty good. Hassan Minaj is pretty good. Ooh, Aparna Nancherla too. She's really funny. I think she's hilarious. Yeah, I think those are mine.
Most definitely. And if you can get roasted by five comedians, past and present, which comedians would you like to get roasted by?
I mean, roasted by Nikki Glazer. Actually, I think she's like she's an incredible like roast writer. Let's see. I don't know who else would. Bill Burr, I feel like would do a really good job roasting. Also, he's an incredible comedian in general. Dave Chappelle. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Just like yeah, I think those three. But I guess like two of the greats are obviously like Eddie Murphy, or like George Carlin. I think would be also really good. But yeah, and also maybe Michael Che. I feel like he's like a very perceptive. I don't always like agree with his opinions, but I feel like he like really thinks through them. So I feel like he'd be very specific in roasting someone.
Most definitely, indeed. And where do you see your comedy career in the next 5 years?
Hopefully, once the pandemic ends, I can do stand up again. And yeah, continue humor writing. I think like I was kind of in very much like a hustle mindset for the past 5 years with comedy, 4 years, whatever. I think now I'm a bit more, I don't know, I'm not like as obsessed with like making it and trying to do like 15 spots a night. I'm just kind of like, yeah, like I'll do what I do and just hope that I'm good enough to be taken to the next level. And yeah, I'd love to like continue doing stand up and continue doing humor writing, and I'd love to like write for TV. That's sort of my next goal that I'd love to accomplish. And I think that involves a lot more like networking and writing pitch packets and stuff. So I've definitely gotten better, but I think yeah, I'm just trying to improve on that and see when that happens. Hopefully I'm writing for a TV show in the next 5 years. We'll see.
Indeed. I'm hoping for the best for you, indeed. And speaking of writing for TV shows, which other forms of comedy would you like to venture off into? Like you mentioned, comedy writing for TV shows, like improv, sketch, directing, acting, etc.
I would love to write. I also really like directing. Producing would be cool too, because I'm like a very like organized, efficient person. And I also really like directing because especially when I have like a vision of what I want it to be. I think I'm pretty good at like being able to like direct people and kind of bring out the best in what they can do. I'm really not interested in acting. Like I would do it. I've done it, for like sketches that I've made just because, it's easier to just film yourself. But I don't really like love acting at all. But I really like, yeah, I would say like writing, directing, and producing in that order, and then like acting, and then improv. I don't want to do improv.
Indeed, most definitely. And what is your favorite joke a comic has written?
Oh, that's so specific. I don't think I can think of one off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. I can get back to you later with that, but I don't know if I can answer that question right now.
For sure, indeed. And what experience would you like your audience to take with them after a set is over?
Oh, that's a good question. I think like first and foremost as a comedian, it's to like be funny. So I hope they like walk away like having had a good time. I guess like second, I would love I think my comedy tends to like be more political and sometimes philosophical, but I always try to make sure that it's funny before it's anything else, or else you're just like giving a lecture and or like screaming into an echo chamber. Like if I get applause for it, but not like laughter, I don't like that. I would say I would like them to walk away like feeling good generally. And then if I had to say a second thing, it's also them like maybe thinking about something in a little bit of a different way. Like I've challenged some belief that they've had, or at least made them like think about it from like a different point of view.
Most definitely. And you chose the Chicago Homeless Union to donate funds to for this episode. And why did you choose those fine folks?
It's really important, especially during this pandemic, for people to get involved in mutual aid in their city or in their community, or start one if there isn't already one. I think, over the summer, a lot of people are like, oh, like, how do I help? Like, blah, 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 like, what do I do besides posting infographics on Instagram story? And I think the biggest thing you could do is, go to protests and donate, but also really get involved in mutual aid and kind of make connections and whatever community you're a part of. And then from there, I feel like there's so many opportunities to learn even more. So yeah, that's sort of why I picked it. And also, yeah, I think that's the best way to help people to get involved, like with mutual aid and sort of help out in however way you can. If you have money, donate. But if not, you can. If you have a car, you can like drive people places or deliver food. Or there's just so many different ways you can get involved. So I think that's why I picked it.
Awesome, great stuff. And to go back to your favorite joke a comic has written, have you found that out?
I feel like I'd have to like look that up. I can think about it. I'm just like, oh, okay, there's one. Yeah, the one I can think of is like Nate Bargatze's special, like Tennessee Kid. I thought that was like a really funny special, and he has a really good bit about his name. I'm not gonna tell the joke because it's like a longer bit, but it's his full name is Nathaniel, but on his ID it says Nate, and there's like a whole confusion at the security line, and it's a really funny special, and I just think people should watch that. It's just really tight and well written.
Most definitely, indeed. I love Nate Bargatze. Like he's the way that he delivers and the way that he talks is like very calm and soothing. I can just listen to his comedy all day, every day.
Yeah, and he also just like yeah, and he plays dumb, which is really funny and like relatable for audiences, but at the same time, he's not dumb. Like you like yeah, playing dumb is like a very hard thing to do, so he's clearly very good. So yeah, I think he's like a really good like palate cleanser comic that I can listen to and like just enjoy.
Indeed, most definitely. And Meg, as you were nominated by Tyler, this is the only way that comics can get into the secret society of stand-up speakeasy. So it's like the prohibition, the roaring 20s all over again. You got to know somebody to know somebody to be in the club. So Meg, with that being said, which Chicago comics would you like to see on a future episode of the stand-up speakeasy?
Oh, there's so many good ones. I'd say Madeline Horwath is really good. She doesn't do as much stand up, but she's a really good cartoonist. But in terms of stand up, I'd say Carly Kane is really funny. Vic Pandya, Ali Drapos, Skylar Higley. I would say those four off the top of my head.
Awesome, fantastic. And then I'll need your help to write the spelling of their names because sometimes I reach out to the wrong people and I'm like, oops, I'm sorry, wrong person. So
DM you their names, yeah.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Meg, for being my guest today on the Stand Up Speakeasy. And is there any other final words you'd like to give out to the audience at home?
Just donate to donate or get involved in mutual aid, and I don't know, support comedians, the local ones especially, because they are struggling right now in the pandemic.
Absolutely. And be sure to follow Meg on Instagram and Twitter. Those are scrolling below. And donate to the Chicago Homeless Union any way you can. Their Venmo, GoFundMe, and Cash App are scrolling on the bottom, as well as in the description box below. So feel free to follow and donate and all that good stuff to those fine folks. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Stand Up Speakeasy. I am Srathne, and we'll see you tomorrow for the next episode.